One of the core pillars of the XRP thesis that differentiates it from almost everything else out there is institutional adoption. We have seen large institutions such as Bank of America and American Express and even central banks come out and comment on the benefits of using Ripple's technology with XRP. But one of the things we are still yet to see is large-scale implementation of the technology. In this video, I want to talk about exactly why that is and what the potential flip of the switch moment actually entails. Guys, I think this is super important to understand because while a lot of people call this just speculation, I think there actually is some truth to this entire thing. In this video, we're going to talk about exactly what makes Ripple and XRP different from the rest of the cryptocurrency industry in regards to this. I think this is absolutely fundamental in understanding what you hold. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe to the channel. These two simple things really do mean so much. Also, if you ever need a good place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. As earlier today, I put out a video covering a very interesting post from Ashley Prosper, and in this post, it essentially went through every single bullish comment from people inside of Ripple and outside of Ripple, talking about the potential use case for Ripple and XRP in transforming our financial system. Now, guys, it's obvious that Ripple would be extremely bullish on XRP's potential to really transform the financial system as we know it. But one thing that I don't think people really appreciate is how often and how frequently we have seen large institutions that don't even have direct partnerships with Ripple and XRP today specifically commenting on how critical this technology could be. I think a great example of this is JP Morgan directly saying if Ripple wins the SEC lawsuit, XRP is poised for significant adoption. Or the World Economic Forum saying Ripple's XRP is one of the most scalable and efficient digital assets available for cross-border payments. Guys, we have seen countless institutions talk about just how important Ripple and XRP's technology could be to the financial system. And what I think is so interesting about all of this is you really don't see these types of comments for any other cryptocurrency. There is a lot of different cryptocurrencies out there, over 20,000. But when you actually look at that group of cryptocurrencies, what you'll understand is almost none of them are being mentioned by these large institutional players. And even the ones that are not even getting close to the amount of notoriety that Ripple and XRP have gotten over the years. When you compound that with the fact that Ripple and XRP have been around for over 10 years now, and we're meeting with players like the Federal Reserve since 2013, you start to understand that it's really not even close when it comes down to institutional adoption of these networks and really having them have a full understanding of how these technologies can be beneficial, scalable, and easily incorporated into their systems. On top of all of that, when you take into account what is being done to these networks to actually make them institutionally available, at that point, I really don't even know if there's anything else out there. Ripple is currently working on things like clawbacks, DID, and other services that are going to be necessary to institutions ultimately using this technology. I haven't seen DID mentioned on any other network, or clawbacks for a matter of fact. Because at the end of the day, these are things that are typically seen as anti-cryptocurrency, against the ethos of why cryptocurrencies were created. And while some part of that might actually be true, it doesn't really make any difference when it comes to institutional adoption. Because at the end of the day, the regulated world is not going to change for cryptocurrencies. The regulated world is going to stay the same. Institutions are always going to have to meet requirements that are against the cryptocurrency ethos. And to expect large institutions and governments to change their regulations, to change their perspectives on what's critical in order to have a safe, regulated environment to meet the ethos of cryptocurrency, I believe that is completely unrealistic. I believe Ripple's approach to essentially make cryptocurrency more government and institutional friendly is the correct approach, especially in the early days when most of these large players are still evaluating whether or not these different technologies can be added to their business in a seamless way. What Ripple is doing is making the choice easy. They're saying, hey, we're not forcing you to change your practices. We're not forcing you to change your processes. You can keep those the same. We just want to add the efficiencies. You can still make sure you're not interacting with anyone on a sanctions list, but your payments are going to go 1,000 to 1,000,000 times faster and settle with almost no fees. That's an easy decision for an institution. Ripple's saying, hey, if you mess up and send funds to the wrong people, we'll add a way for you to claw back those funds. They're not going to tell these large institutions, hey, sorry, you can't get that money back. Now you have to deal with regulators saying you funded a terrorist. These are non-negotiables for institutions. So when other cryptocurrency players go to these institutions, assuming they can even get in the room and say, oh, sorry, that's just the way the blockchain works, I believe that's likely where the conversation stops. What Ripple is doing is they are adding features to get past this part of the conversation and saying, hey, we are building these things natively into the protocol so that you can comply with what you need to comply with still getting the vast efficiencies and upgrades of cryptocurrencies over the legacy system. And something that is not talked about enough is essentially Ripple admitting that what we are seeing right now is a switch over from the legacy system to a new digital system. This is directly from a member of Ripple. It's all about the timing of the switch towards a newer conductivity model and tech model. Ripple fully understands we are doing essentially a hard switch from one form of the financial system to a new one. We are going from an analog system to a digital system. So in a certain way, this is a flip of the switch. Institutions are flipping off the old rails and onto the new rails. Now, does that mean every single institution is going to be onboarded overnight to these new DLT rails? Absolutely not. But it's going to be a snowball effect or a spiderweb effect, whatever you want to call it. Once you have one large institution saying, hey, we no longer want to wait 3 days for a payment to go through. We no longer want to pay exorbitant fees on each payment. Once one institution, especially a large institution, says no more to that, every single other institution is going to be forced to follow because they are going to have such immense saving, such a higher velocity of money. Any other institution not adopting these new processes, these new rails, is going to be left in the dust. So it's all about figuring out when is that first large institution going to feel comfortable with making the switch. And I believe that is a mix of regulations and with what Ripple is doing right now, which is building an enterprise-ready blockchain that can address most of the issues the cryptocurrency ecosystem as a whole is completely ignoring. And that's why I'm so happy that Ripple has been meeting with these institutions since day one. Ripple hasn't forced DLT and blockchain on these institutions. What have they done? They built environments and software that these institutions felt comfortable using. Ripple had to sell these institutions on what the institutions thought they want. So later down the road, Ripple could sell them on what the institutions actually need. The institutions right now don't fully understand how XRP, volatile digital assets, and DeFi all fit into the picture. But they understand that cryptocurrency money go fast and old system go slow. So what does Ripple need to do? Ripple needs to build products for these institutions like RippleNet, which is just essentially just the messaging service, so that these institutions can start saying, oh wow, this is much better than Swift. And then what do? You put another option on the side. This other option says, hey, rather than this payment taking 3 days and costing you 3 to 4%, how about you do it instantaneously for fractions of a second? This is what the institutions thought they wanted no part of because it used XRP. But once they see the utility, that will completely flip upside down. That has been Ripple's approach since day one. Tell the institutions on what they want, and ultimately give them a gateway to this new space-age system they are ultimately going to need. I believe this is the winning strategy because Ripple has already built up trust with these institutions. They've already built up a good reputation, and they have already proved their professionalism in relation to the rest of the industry. I really do believe this is going to be a massive winning strategy for Ripple, especially because it is a polar opposite in comparison to what anyone else is doing. Guys, I want to finish this video off and just show you one last thing because I thought this was a great tweet by Saul. What he says right here is something that I think a lot of people really need to wrap their head around. I think a lot of people in the XRP community think, oh, well, it's really just me seeing these things. No one else in my personal life understands what's going on here. I wish more big players understood or investing in XRP. But it's so important to understand that just because you don't personally know sophisticated investors in your personal life investing in this asset, it doesn't mean that there aren't incredibly smart people investing more aggressively in this asset right alongside you. Take a look at this. Saul said this individual took a 1% stake in all the XRP in existence, yet you are listening to FUD. Essentially what he's saying is take a look at this guy's resume, he has ownership of 1% of the total XRP in existence. Yet a lot of people are listening to random Twitter accounts FUD XRP and getting totally sucked into it. Take a look at this. This is Greg Kidd's resume, and it just shows, guys, there is people invested in XRP who are the smartest of the smart. They understand the thesis. They understand all the things we talked about in this video. But just because you don't get to have conversations with these people on a daily basis doesn't mean they don't exist. Greg Kidd, 2 years at Harvard, 4 years at Yale, 2 years at Stanford, 4 years at Brown. Absolutely insane. 1% of the XRP float on his resume. Guys, I think this really shows you that the smartest of the smart are invested in XRP alongside of us. And just because they're not on YouTube making videos talking about it on a daily basis or tweeting every single day like a lot of the FUDsters are, doesn't mean they aren't just as bullish as you and me. Guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.